Hello and welcome to Wilson Solutions. This is video 2 in a series on Access databases titled The Navigation Pane. It's on the Managers playlist, which means that you are a director or a manager within an organization. You have some people working with you and you have brought in an Access developer who is going to create an Access database for your organization to use, and you as a director or manager need to know something about the navigation pane so you could properly manage that process. So let's get started. Here I have a sample database I downloaded from data.gov. It was created by the federal government. And Access is a bit different from other development environments in that it contains various objects. And these objects are tables, queries, forms, reports, macros, and modules. This is the navigation pane here. This is the shutter bar. So I'm going to hit that. You can see the word navigation pane right there. So tables, there we have them. Queries, forms, reports, macros, and modules. Since Access has all these many objects, it's appropriate they be organized in some way, and that's where this navigation pane comes in. So what are some features of this navigation pane? Well, this shutter bar is something we've already discussed. There's this view category selector here. I'm going to click it, and we have it set so we're viewing object types, and we're looking for all Access objects. Well, I can say just tables, and we view just tables, just queries, just forms. You get the idea. I'm going to set it back to all Access objects. There's also this expand collapse feature, which we've seen already. That's kind of nice. There are various right-click options. I just right-clicked on this bar. I'm going to come down here and say sort by remove automatic sorts. If you do that, then you can change the alphabetical ordering of the objects in here. Put your favorite one on top. I'll change that back to by name. You can also change the sort by to modified date. Then bring in view by details. You can imagine how handy that would be if you have many hundreds or even thousands of items in the navigation pane and you want to find the one you've just recently created. I'll return this to its prior state. It also has this search bar, which is something you can choose or to see or not to see. I've chosen to see it. Let's search for the word. Now we have tables, queries, forms, reports, macros, and modules. I'll search for the word turtle. Nothing's come up, but when I click, I see that we have some tables with the word turtle in them, some queries with the word turtle, and some forms with the word turtle. You can imagine how handy that could be. We also have hidden items. Go to Navigation Options. Click on Show Hidden Objects. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to then right-click on this turtle, Table Properties, Hidden. Boom. It's gone. Now if I go into Navigation Objects, Show Hidden Objects, okay, it comes back in this reverse video or this grayed out font. I'll then say Hidden to, and it comes back. One might imagine that the ability to hide and unhide objects is a great advantage in a multi-user environment. You can also create custom categories and custom groups. Here I'm going to right-click on this part over here and click Navigation Options. Then you can see I've created a custom category called Users. I'll click on that and you can see I've created 4 custom groups called Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice. How did I do it? Well, I just clicked Add Item to create this custom category. And once I was there and had that selected, I clicked Add Group and added these custom groups. How do they work? Well, I'll go in here and again right-click, go to Category, click Users. That's the one I just created. You can see Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice right here. Now we might assume that Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice all have different interests in this database. For example, I might want to assign location-related objects. I typed LOC in the search bar. I might want to assign these location-related objects to Bob, so I'll just carry them up there. You see, they've moved from the unassigned category to Bob's category. And we have this little icon here at the lower left, this little arrow indicating that they're actually not real objects. They're essentially shortcuts to an object. Now, it could turn out that locations related to searching would also be of interest to Carol. So Bob gets these search areas, and so does Carol. What I did was I selected them, held down the Control key, and then dragged them over to Carol. Whereas the tables alone are of interest to Ted. And items related to our favorite item, turtles. Let's see, just turtle. Items related to turtles are appropriate for Alice. So in that way, we've assigned certain objects to Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice. And they haven't gone away. They haven't moved from anywhere. They've just been, there's essentially a link to them. Now, if I were to delete these objects from here, I held them, I selected them, and then hit the delete key. They haven't gone away. They've just gone down to the unassigned area. Except those that were part of Carol's group, I've selected them, and I'm going to hit delete. Then what Ted has still remains up here as a shortcut. I selected them, I'll hit delete. Then what Alice has is simply items related to turtles. So you might imagine in a multi-user environment where you have numerous employees, this would be a simple way of assigning certain tasks or certain objects to certain people. So as you can see, the navigation pane is quite sophisticated and quite powerful. But whether or not you even use it or even see it depends on what kind of environment you're trying to create with your Access database. There are several types of Access databases, but they fall into two main categories: a professional Access database and a user database. In a professional environment, you would not see the navigation pane at all. You have very strict access control. The navigation pane is hidden because you don't want your users to see the internal objects that are within the database. Access to items in the database come from a main menu, which is a form. And on that form, you might have several buttons. Like, for instance, you might have a button called Users. And when you click it, a user's form pops up, which contains a list of users that are allowed to use this database and what they get to see and what they get to do. You might have another button called Egg Counts, which brings up a form relating to egg counts, a data relating to egg counts. Another button called Locations, which brings up a locations form, data relating to survey locations. You might imagine a situation where this button called Users is only available to admins only, so that there's code behind that button. So when that button is pressed, if you're not an admin, you don't see this form. So what we're saying is that business policies, rules, and requirements are set by the management, and they're enforced by code. That would be a professional environment. You as the manager want to be sure that Access objects are well organized internally. It's a maintenance issue. So for that reason, it's good to know about the navigation pane. In a user environment, there's essentially no access control. Everyone sees the navigation pane. All the objects are available for viewing, although some may be hidden by default as previously described. But you've seen before that objects that are hidden can be easily unhidden. So what we're saying is that business policies, rules, and requirements are set by the management, but they're not enforced by code in a user environment. But using the navigation pane makes objects more easily found and organized. For example, you can create these custom groups, custom categories as we described above. Well, that about sums up video number 2 on the Manager's playlist. If you like this kind of thing, be sure to like and subscribe and look for more videos in the future from Wilson Solutions.